What if you could erase the 7 habits that make men weak, anxious, and foolish, and replace them with the mindset of a Stoic emperor? What if in just a few minutes you could see your own blind spots with such brutal clarity that you could never fall for them again? That's not motivation, it's transformation. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." But modern men don't endure, they escape. They escape through distraction, comfort, and excuses. And those escapes quietly become their prison. Here's the truth few are willing to admit. Stupidity isn't about lack of intelligence, it's about lack of awareness. The Stoics taught that the greatest fool is the one who cannot see his own chains. Epictetus warned, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." So ask yourself, are you truly free? Or have you built a life so full of noise that you can't hear your own mind anymore? Most men are trapped not by others, but by habits that betray them daily. Habits that make them reactive, emotional, and undisciplined. They scroll when they should reflect. They speak when they should be silent. They chase when they should wait. And in doing so, they trade power for pleasure, wisdom for noise, peace for attention. The Stoics would call this the tragedy of the modern man, a man who owns everything but himself. But here's the promise. When you uncover these 7 habits and see them for what they truly are, you'll begin to feel something rare, control. You'll understand what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That power is not born overnight. It is forged by awareness, by stripping away the stupid habits that cloud your judgment and corrupt your strength. Stay until the end, because each habit we reveal will open your eyes wider. The first one is the most deceptive. It disguises itself as something harmless, even admirable. And yet it's the root of why so many men stay lost. By the 7th, you'll understand why Stoicism isn't just ancient philosophy, it's the blueprint for survival in a chaotic world. So if you've ever felt frustrated, reactive, or powerless, this isn't just another motivational video. It's a mirror that will show you how much of your struggle isn't caused by the world, but by yourself. And once you see that truth, nothing will ever control you again. Habit 1 is reacting before thinking, the invisible habit that poisons every decision a man makes. You've felt it, your blood boiling at a careless comment, your heart racing when someone criticizes you, your mind imagining disasters before they happen. It feels natural, instinctive even, but it's a trap. Marcus Aurelius warned, how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it. He did not write this as a suggestion. He wrote it as a command to himself, because even emperors could fall victim to the mind's reflexive impulses. The modern world is built to exploit this weakness. Social media notifications, text messages, arguments in the office, all of them are designed to trigger reaction before reflection. The untrained man jumps at every spark, thinking his reaction is strength, when in truth, it is slavery. Stoics like Epictetus called it psychic enslavement, surrendering control of your own mind to the whims of outside events. Imagine how many opportunities, relationships, and moments of peace have been destroyed simply because a man reacted without control. The tragedy is subtle. It creeps in like a shadow over your day, unnoticed until the consequences pile up. And yet, the solution is deceptively simple. Awareness. Mastery over this habit does not come from avoiding triggers. It comes from seeing them clearly and choosing your response. Consider this. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that men are disturbed not by events themselves, but by their judgments about them. The man who reacts without thinking is a man who confuses stimulus with truth. Every argument lost, every regretful word spoken, every impulse-driven choice is evidence of habit 1 at work. History is filled with stories of men who ruined themselves because they could not pause, reflect, and decide. Even Seneca in his letters reminded us, if you're distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. And yet the modern man believes he has no choice, that the surge of emotion is fate itself. Here is the promise. By seeing habit 1, by recognizing the pattern of impulsive reactions, you unlock the door to true control. And control, my friend, is the foundation of every other habit we will explore. But habit 1 is just the beginning, because the more you master your reactions, the more you will realize how deep the other 6 habits run, each one more cunning, more destructive, and more hidden than the last.
Habit 1 does not announce itself. It slips quietly into your life, camouflaged as instinct, emotion, or even passion. You wake up, check your phone, and before you realize it, your mind is racing with irritation at a careless comment from a friend, resentment at a colleague's success, or anxiety over something you cannot control. That first flicker of reaction seems harmless, a spark of energy in an otherwise ordinary day. But as Marcus Aurelius warned, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Every impulsive reaction stains the character, slowly shifting the man you are into the man you do not recognize. Picture a Roman general in the heat of battle, his temper unchecked, reacting to slights and insults while the fate of legions hung in the balance. That was life or death. And while we may not face armies, the stakes are no less real. Your career, your relationships, your inner peace, and even your sense of purpose all depend on mastering this invisible enemy. Stoicism teaches that emotion without reason is chaos, and chaos, no matter how small, compounds over time. The unexamined response today becomes regret tomorrow, resentment next week, and a life half-lived by the end of the year. The modern brain is wired to react first and reflect later. Neuroscience confirms what the Stoics observed millennia ago. The amygdala triggers fight-or-flight responses faster than the prefrontal cortex can apply reason. This is habit 1 in action. The man who lets this dominate every choice is like a ship without a rudder, constantly buffeted by every wave, gust of wind, and storm of opinion. Yet the promise is clear. Recognition is power. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Every micro-decision you make, choosing silence over argument, patience over impulse, observation over judgment, is a step toward reclaiming your mind. And here's the suspense. Once you master this first habit, your mind begins to see the patterns behind the next 6. You start to notice the subtle ways men sabotage themselves, the incessant need for approval, the quiet surrender to envy, the endless chasing of meaningless validation. Each one builds upon the other, like a chain reaction of unconscious self-destruction. Imagine the difference. A man who pauses, breathes, and decides is unstoppable. A man who reacts is perpetually defeated, no matter how strong, intelligent, or capable he appears. Habit 1 is the keystone, the first domino, and the moment you understand it, the foundation is laid for the next revelation. You start asking yourself questions that you've never dared to. Why did I lose my temper? Why did I chase approval? Why do I let others define my happiness? And as soon as you confront these questions, the curiosity to discover habit 2 becomes irresistible. Because habit 2, unlike the first, hides behind charm, ego, and seemingly good intentions. It's waiting, silent, and far more cunning. Remember this, Marcus Aurelius was not spared. Even in the palace, surrounded by power and adulation, he wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, Tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are this way because they cannot distinguish good from evil. He knew the battle begins within, with the mind. And so must you. Habit 1 is your initiation. Master it, and the path to mastering the other 6 habits becomes visible, like the first light breaking over a dark horizon. Ignore it, and you are blind to the forces silently eroding your life. By now, you can feel it, a spark of awareness, a twinge of recognition. That discomfort is good. That tension is progress. Habit 2 is lurking, and it will challenge you in ways that habit 1 only hinted at. It's smarter, subtler, and far more socially acceptable, but the moment you see it for what it is, the first domino of your transformation has already fallen.
Habit 2 is seeking constant validation, the invisible poison disguised as confidence, charm, or ambition. It creeps into the life of any man who mistakes attention for respect, likes for love, or flattery for truth. You may think it harmless, even natural to want approval, yet this desire can silently enslave a man more efficiently than anger or impulsivity ever could. Seneca once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." And what is approval, if not an endless craving, a debt that can never be repaid? Look around. The modern man measures his worth in likes, follows, promotions, compliments, and praise, all fleeting shadows that offer no real strength. He smiles in public while rotting in private, convinced that external validation is proof of internal value. This is the tragedy habit 2 quietly inflicts. It replaces self-mastery with dependence, courage with fear, freedom with chains, invisible yet unbreakable. Imagine a young man at work, pitching ideas in a meeting, but instead of focusing on substance, he monitors every reaction: who nods, who frowns, who might criticize. His confidence is a mask, his mind is a storm. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The need for approval is one of those infinite wants, one that grows like ivy around the soul, suffocating initiative and judgment. Even the greatest Stoics were not immune to this subtle danger. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." He knew that no applause, no recognition could replace the strength found in quiet virtue. The modern equivalent is just as insidious. Social media likes, performance bonuses, public recognition, all seductive illusions that convince a man he is more than he truly is. Here's the suspense. While habit 1 is visible, obvious, loud, and easy to blame, habit 2 is silent, invisible, and socially acceptable. The man enslaved by it believes he is admired, respected, and powerful, yet in truth, he has surrendered his mind to the gaze of others. Every decision is filtered through fear of judgment. Every choice is compromised by the need to impress. Every relationship, conversation, and ambition is shaped by the invisible strings of external opinion. Cleanthes once reminded, "Lead your soul by the right reason. Do not lead it by the applause of men." Yet how many men today even notice these strings? The tragedy is that this habit often masquerades as charm, confidence, and likability, making it far more dangerous than the raw impulses of anger or fear. And here's the promise. The moment you recognize habit 2, something remarkable happens. You begin to see the invisible patterns shaping not just your day, but your life. You realize that every act of approval seeking was a theft of your own power, a subtle erosion of your character, and a betrayal of your freedom. And once you understand this, the path to mastering habit 3, far darker and more manipulative, becomes clear.
Habit 3 waits patiently, hidden in your routines, disguising itself as productivity, ambition, or even kindness. And when it strikes, the man who has not mastered habits 1 and 2 will not even see it coming.
Habit 2, the craving for validation, grows quietly, like a weed in fertile soil, until it dominates the mind entirely. Consider a man scrolling endlessly through social media late at night, comparing himself to strangers he has never met. Likes, comments, and superficial attention flicker across the screen, and with each chime of approval, a subtle chemical reward lights up the brain. Dopamine. A momentary surge that tricks the mind into believing worth is external, that power comes from perception, and that identity is shaped by applause. Epictetus warned against this centuries ago, though in his time it was men measuring themselves against philosophers, merchants, or politicians. He said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Yet today, we are obsessed with appearing wise, successful, and admired at all costs, while ignoring the only judgment that truly matters, our own. The tragedy is that this habit is invisible to the man who suffers from it. He laughs, jokes, and performs for approval, believing that flattery validates his essence. But Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." That single line reveals the cruel irony of habit 2. A man enslaved by admiration never truly masters himself, no matter how impressive his life may look from the outside. Even achievements, wealth, and status are hollow if they are pursued to impress others. The chains are invisible, but heavy, each one tightening subtly every time a decision is made based on perception instead of principle. This habit poisons relationships, distorts priorities, and creates a perpetual state of anxiety because the man who seeks validation can never be satisfied. Think about it. How often have you said or done something simply to be liked, to avoid criticism, or to gain approval? Perhaps you smiled when you wanted to speak truth. Perhaps you stayed silent when justice demanded a word. Perhaps you compromised your values just to be accepted. These are the subtle victories of habit 2, celebrated by society and ignored by the individual. Cleanthes, the Stoic philosopher, would have said, "Lead your life by reason, not by the applause of men." And yet the applause surrounds you constantly in the modern world. Likes, comments, promotions, recognition, all reinforcing the habit that silently erodes your freedom. Here is the promise. Recognizing habit 2 gives you access to a profound form of liberation. You begin to act according to principle, not perception. You begin to value your judgment over approval, your discipline over admiration, and your inner peace over external recognition. And with this awareness comes curiosity, a natural pull to uncover habit 3. Habit 3 is subtler still, masked in virtue and ambition, yet more cunning and destructive than anything you have encountered. If habit 1 forced you to control your impulses, and habit 2 showed you the chains of approval, habit 3 exposes how men surrender their power without even knowing it, quietly, cleverly, invisibly. And the deeper you go, the more the story unfolds. Each habit is connected, each one more dangerous than the last, leading toward a truth so profound it will forever change how you see yourself and the world around you.
Habit 3 is pretending to be productive while achieving nothing of real value, the silent thief of time, focus, and purpose. On the surface, it looks virtuous. He rises early, checks his to-do list, answers emails, attends meetings, posts motivational quotes, and even reads self-help articles. He is busy, admired, and driven. But Marcus Aurelius would recognize it immediately as vanity disguised as action. He warned, "Don't hanker after what you don't have. Instead, fix your attentions on the finest and best that you have, and imagine how much you would long for it if it weren't in your possession. Modern men are obsessed with appearing competent, with the illusion of success, while their true work, their internal growth, self-discipline, and meaningful contribution lies untouched. Habit 3 thrives because society rewards motion, noise, and the superficial appearance of achievement. And the more convincing the performance, the more invisible the damage becomes. Consider a young man climbing the corporate ladder. He arrives early, speaks often, sends endless emails, and posts about his achievements on LinkedIn. To the outside world, he seems unstoppable. Yet deep inside, he is exhausted, anxious, and empty. The hours he spends chasing recognition and appearing productive are stolen from his growth, relationships, and inner mastery. Epictetus warned, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." But he didn't say, "Look busy, get noticed, and hope to be remembered." The difference between men who achieve greatness and men who simply perform the motions is subtle but profound. Productivity without purpose is nothing more than controlled chaos, a distraction that convinces a man he is advancing when in truth he's standing still. Here's the suspense. Habit 3 is not loud. It doesn't provoke anger like habit 1. It doesn't crave approval like habit 2. Instead, it lulls the man into comfort, masking distraction as diligence and avoidance as efficiency. Every day spent in shallow busyness erodes patience, focus, and clarity. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Habit 3 is the perfect example of this: subtle, invisible, socially praised, and quietly destructive. And yet the promise lies within recognition. The moment you see through the illusion, the chain of wasted hours and energy begins to break. Awareness transforms noise into action, chaos into clarity, and superficial motion into deliberate purpose. The moment you understand habit 3, a new question arises. What have you truly been working for? What have you built, and what has simply been an illusion for the approval of others or the comfort of being busy? The realization is unsettling, but it is also empowering, because the deeper you go, the more you will see the invisible threads connecting all 7 habits, each one subtly reinforcing the next, each one more cunning and destructive than the last. And once habit 4 comes into view, the stakes become even higher. It is hidden in pride, ego, and the illusion of knowledge, making every decision you thought was smart suddenly suspect.
Habit 3, the illusion of productivity, is the silent assassin of ambition. Imagine a man glued to his phone, toggling between work apps, social media, and endless notifications. He feels accomplished, convinced that the flood of messages, reports, and tasks equates to progress. Yet at night, he lies awake, exhausted, unfulfilled, wondering why nothing in his life feels meaningful. Marcus Aurelius would recognize this struggle instantly. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. And the modern man, drowning in shallow motion, has not truly begun. He has only been busy, a word we mistake for achievement. Even the Stoics understood that action without purpose is a form of self-deception, a habit that grows stronger with time because society applauds the illusion while ignoring the essence. Consider the story of a young entrepreneur celebrated for his hustle. He wakes at 5, attends every networking event, posts motivational quotes, and responds to messages at lightning speed. To outsiders, he seems disciplined, unstoppable, and successful, but in reality, he has no internal clarity. Every hour devoted to surface-level tasks pulls him further from what truly matters: self-mastery, thoughtful planning, and meaningful creation. Seneca warned, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future."
The problem is that a man addicted to busyness rarely experiences the present. He sacrifices reflection, deep work, and the cultivation of character for motion, illusion, and distraction. Habit 3 is dangerous because it masquerades as virtue, ambition, diligence, and industriousness, while quietly stealing the one thing no one else can give back: your time. Here's the subtle horror. Habit 3, unlike anger or approval seeking, is socially praised. Your friends, colleagues, and even your family see the busy man and admire him. He's driven, they say. Look at all he accomplishes. But the Stoics knew better. Epictetus stated, "We are not disturbed by things, but by the view which we take of them." If a man views busyness as accomplishment, he will always be disturbed, anxious, and incomplete, no matter his apparent success. The trap is in the perception, the invisible shift from action to appearance, from discipline to performance. Once you recognize this habit, the first sense of liberation emerges. Awareness becomes a tool, clarity a weapon, and focus a shield. You can finally differentiate between true effort and empty motion. And here's where curiosity tightens its grip. Habit 4 is waiting. It is far subtler, hidden in the guise of knowledge, pride, and the illusion of understanding. While habit 3 steals your time, and habit 2 steals your freedom through approval, habit 4 silently corrupts the mind itself, convincing men they are wise while they remain blind. Awareness of habit 3 prepares you for it, like lifting a veil and glimpsing the machinery behind the curtain. Every step you take towards seeing your invisible habits increases the stakes, and the tension rises. Once habit 4 is revealed, you will understand just how deep the web of these 7 destructive patterns runs, and why only the disciplined, observant, and courageous man can break free.
Habit 4 is believing you are smarter than you really are, the quiet, invisible arrogance that masquerades as confidence. It hides behind intellect, titles, degrees, and social influence, whispering to the man, "You know better. You are right. Others are fools." And the danger of this habit is not in what it says, but in what it prevents: humility, reflection, and true growth. Zeno of Citium warned, "Man conquers the world by conquering himself." But the man enslaved by habit 4 believes he has already conquered himself. He cannot see that every unexamined belief, every unquestioned assumption, every prideful certainty is a chain around his mind, tighter than any external constraint. The illusion of knowledge is far more cunning than anger or impulsivity because it does not shout. It smiles, nods politely, and convinces the world, and more dangerously itself, that everything is fine. Consider the modern man who debates politics, philosophy, or morality online. He posts quotes he barely understands, argues passionately about things he has never experienced, and dismisses dissenting voices as naive or ignorant. Seneca warned against this kind of arrogance. It is the power of the mind to be unconquered, yet we surrender it when we assume we already understand. Habit 4 thrives on the applause of agreement, the illusion of certainty, and the ego's need to feel superior. Even Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, cautioned, "Don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth." To confront habit 4 is to confront your own assumptions, the comfortable falsehoods you have been living under, and the pride that convinces you it is safer to remain blind than to question. The insidiousness of habit 4 lies in its subtlety. Habit 1 provokes conflict. Habit 2 enslaves the mind to approval. Habit 3 steals time and purpose. But habit 4 quietly erodes wisdom itself. It convinces men they are awake while they sleep, that they are powerful while they are weak,
that they are virtuous while they are blind. Epictetus said it best, "It's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." And yet countless men walk through life trapped in this habit, making decisions, influencing others, and shaping the world around them, all while ignorant of their own blindness. Here's the promise. Once you recognize habit 4, the veil lifts. Every conversation, decision, and thought becomes an opportunity for real understanding, for true mastery over your mind. The subtle ego that once guided your choices begins to shrink in the light of awareness. But the suspense deepens. Habit 5, waiting in the shadows, is even more socially ingrained and universally accepted. While this fourth habit corrupts the mind, the fifth corrodes the soul, shaping behavior, relationships, and desires in ways that often feel normal, yet are devastating over time. And the moment you see habit 5 for what it is, you will understand how cleverly these 7 habits are connected, how each one strengthens the next, and why freedom and mastery are impossible without seeing the whole web.
Habit 4. The illusion of knowledge and hidden pride quietly shapes a man's life in ways he rarely notices. Imagine a man who constantly corrects others, offers advice without being asked, or dismisses ideas that challenge his worldview. To him, it feels righteous, even helpful. Yet Seneca warned, "As is a tale, so is life. Too much is explained to no purpose." The excessive need to appear knowledgeable, to demonstrate understanding, creates a life dictated by ego rather than reason. Every conversation becomes a stage for performance, every decision a subtle test of superiority, and every disagreement a threat to self-image. The Stoics saw this centuries ago. Wisdom is not in appearing learned, but in mastering oneself. Zeno taught, well-being is achieved not through knowledge alone, but through the right use of it. Habit 4, however, lulls men into thinking that simply knowing or appearing to know is enough, when in reality it destroys discernment, humility, and insight. Consider the modern man navigating social media, corporate hierarchies, or even family dynamics. He quotes philosophers he hasn't studied, debates topics he doesn't understand, and clings to certainty like a shield against vulnerability. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth by which no one was ever harmed." The man enslaved by habit 4 cannot do this. He cannot admit ignorance, cannot pause, and cannot allow the possibility that he is wrong. This silent arrogance isolates him, blinds him, and ensures that even well-intentioned efforts are compromised by ego. Habit 4 is subtle because it disguises itself as intelligence, virtue, or confidence. And the deeper a man falls into it, the harder it is to notice, a truth that makes the next habit even more dangerous. Here's the suspense. Habit 5 waits patiently, hidden behind desire, distraction, and addiction to comfort. While habit 4 corrupts judgment and blinds the mind, habit 5 quietly erodes the spirit. It is socially accepted, normalized, and often celebrated, making its eventual discovery more shocking and transformative. But the awareness you gain from confronting habit 4 equips you with a new lens. Suddenly, behaviors, patterns, and relationships that once seemed inevitable are exposed as choices. You begin to see how much of life is influenced by unseen forces and how easily men are manipulated by habit, desire, and ego. Recognition of habit 4 does not just free the mind. It awakens curiosity, vigilance, and an unshakable determination to master the next invisible enemy, habit 5. The promise of facing habit 4 is profound. When you recognize the subtle pride, the ego-driven decisions, and the illusion of knowledge, you reclaim the ability to learn, reflect, and grow. Your mind becomes a tool for understanding rather than a stage for performance. Yet, as Epictetus warned, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. This is why habit 5 is so dangerous. It preys on the habits you are not yet aware of, building upon the weaknesses exposed by the first 4 habits. The deeper you go, the more you see the invisible threads connecting them, the more powerful and liberating your journey towards self-mastery becomes.
Habit 5 is succumbing to comfort and avoiding discomfort, the invisible habit that silently steals ambition, purpose, and resilience. It is disguised as rest, relaxation, or self-care, but when left unchecked, it becomes addiction, lethargy, and stagnation. Marcus Aurelius warned centuries ago, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The Stoics knew that discomfort is the teacher, challenge is the sculptor, and avoidance is the enemy of excellence. Yet the modern man convinces himself that comfort is virtue, that leisure is a reward rather than a privilege, and that avoiding difficulty is clever, when in truth it is the slow erosion of character. The subtle danger is that society applauds comfort. We call it work-life balance, taking care of yourself, or self-care. But the unexamined habit of avoiding discomfort becomes a cage, limiting growth, masking weakness, and silencing the inner voice that urges action. Consider a young man who dreams of starting a business, mastering a skill, or improving his health. Every day he tells himself he will begin tomorrow. Tomorrow is too busy, too tired, too inconvenient. The couch, the phone, the endless scroll of distraction all whisper the same lie. You are doing fine. Rest a little longer. You will start later. Seneca warned of this centuries ago. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Yet habit 5 hides in plain sight, disguised as rationality, comfort, and prudence. Every postponed workout, delayed project, or ignored opportunity strengthens the habit, making it increasingly difficult to take meaningful action. The man believes he is safe, but he is slowly suffocating his own potential. Here's the suspense. Habit 5 is socially invisible because everyone practices it to some degree. Friends, colleagues, even mentors celebrate moderation, relaxation, and taking it easy, reinforcing the habit rather than challenging it. But Stoicism teaches that virtue is forged in discomfort, resilience in adversity, and freedom in discipline. Epictetus said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are." The moment you confront habit 5, you begin to see every postponed action, every surrendered challenge, and every indulgence not as harmless, but as evidence of silent defeat. The recognition is uncomfortable, yes, but that discomfort is the doorway to liberation. And here is the promise. Once you see how habit 5 operates, the power to reclaim your life emerges. You begin to intentionally embrace discomfort, to act when it is difficult, to do what others avoid. Your mind, once enslaved by laziness, begins to reclaim control. Yet the tension rises because habit 6 is waiting, subtler, more insidious, and tied to emotion itself. While habit 5 attacks ambition and spirit, habit 6 attacks perception and judgment, manipulating how a man experiences reality. Awareness of habit 5 is only the beginning. Once you see it clearly, the mind becomes hungry to uncover the next layer of self-sabotage, the next invisible chain holding men back.
Habit 5, the allure of comfort and avoidance of challenge, is a master of disguise. Imagine a man who spends his evenings binge-watching shows, scrolling social media, or endlessly reorganizing his life rather than pursuing real growth. To the outside world, he appears relaxed, balanced, and sane. But inside, a quiet anxiety gnaws at him, the subtle recognition that he is not progressing, that he is surrendering potential, that life is slipping through his fingers. Marcus Aurelius recognized this danger centuries ago. You could leave life right now, Let that determine what you do and say and think. The Stoics understood that postponing action is not safety, it is surrender. And the modern man, trapped by habit 5, is surrendering daily, comfort by comfort, excuse by excuse, until the life he dreams of remains nothing but an illusion. Consider the young man who dreams of mastering a skill, writing, fitness, entrepreneurship, but every day convinces himself, "I'll start tomorrow, I'm too tired today, I'll wait for the perfect moment." Seneca warned, "Begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life." The danger of habit 5 is the false promise of safety. The couch, the phone, the endless comfort all lull the mind into a sense of security, while quietly stealing energy, focus, and the courage to act. The mind becomes habituated to ease, so that every challenge feels insurmountable. Every postponed action, every unpursued goal reinforces the chain, and the man begins to mistake avoidance for wisdom. Here's the suspense. While habit 5 attacks ambition directly, habit 6 is far more subtle, hidden in emotions themselves. Habit 6 corrupts perception, convincing men that what they feel is reality, that their fears are truth, and that the external world is always to blame for inner unrest. The awareness of habit 5, however, primes the mind for habit 6. Once a man recognizes how he avoids discomfort, he begins to notice the ways his own feelings manipulate his actions, decisions, and self-worth. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." Habit 6 exploits that view, weaving fear, desire, and impulsive emotion into invisible chains, controlling men without their notice. The promise is profound. Once habit 5 is recognized and confronted, the man gains a glimpse of freedom. He begins to embrace challenge, to pursue discipline, and to act deliberately rather than reactively. Yet the tension grows because habit 6 awaits, subtler and more psychologically cunning than any habit before. If habit 5 stole ambition, habit 6 steals clarity. If habit 5 distracted the body, habit 6 dominates the mind. And once habit 6 is revealed, the stakes of mastery and the rewards of awareness become undeniably clear. Each habit is connected, each one building on the other, leading to a truth so profound that ignoring it has cost men their potential for centuries.
Habit 6 is letting emotions dictate your perception of reality. The invisible force that convinces men they are trapped by circumstance, that the world is unjust, and that they are powerless to change it. It is subtle, insidious, and socially accepted. After all, feelings are real, aren't they? But the Stoics knew a truth centuries ahead of modern psychology. Emotion is not reality, it is interpretation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Yet most men live as if their emotions are law, allowing irritation, fear, envy, or disappointment to shape decisions, relationships, and self-worth. Habit 6 enslaves the mind more quietly and efficiently than anger, laziness, or ego ever could, because it hides behind legitimacy. A man thinks, "I feel it, therefore it must be true," not realizing this very belief is the chain binding him. Consider a young man whose career stagnates because he constantly doubts himself after minor criticism. Every setback is magnified by anxiety, every disagreement becomes a personal attack, every neutral observation becomes proof of failure. Seneca warned, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Habit 6 thrives on imagined catastrophes, exaggerated fears, and uncontrolled impulses. Even Epictetus emphasized, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." The modern world, with constant social comparison, instant feedback, and relentless information, fuels this habit.
Every news alert, social media notification, or peer comment has the power to hijack perception, magnify emotions, and convince the man he is powerless, all while habit 6 laughs silently in the background, invisible yet utterly controlling. Here's the suspense. Unlike habit 1, which shouts, or habit 2, which seeks approval, habit 6 is invisible. It creeps into relationships, careers, and personal decisions, convincing men to react irrationally, avoid responsibility, or abandon long-term goals. The man enslaved by habit 6 believes he is acting with reason, when in truth he is guided by fear, desire, or resentment. Cleanthes, the Stoic philosopher, reminded, "Lead your soul by reason, do not let it be led by passion." Habit 6 turns passion into a leash, a subtle puppet master manipulating thoughts, words, and actions. Every decision made in anger, anxiety, or desire reinforces the habit, making it stronger and more controlling. The promise is powerful. Once you recognize habit 6, a door opens to true mastery over yourself. You begin to separate feelings from facts, perception from reality, and impulse from reason. Suddenly, the world does not control you, your mind does. But the suspense grows. Habit 7, the final and most insidious habit, awaits. It is invisible, deceptively natural, and binds men in ways that the previous 6 habits only hinted at. Awareness of habit 6 prepares you for the ultimate revelation, a truth that, once understood, completes the path from unconscious slavery to Stoic mastery.
Habit 6, the enslavement of perception by emotion, is far more dangerous than any visible habit because it hides behind legitimacy. Imagine a man who believes he is rational, disciplined, and fair. Yet every decision is secretly influenced by irritation, fear, or desire. A harsh comment from a colleague feels like betrayal. A minor failure becomes proof of incompetence. An unexpected change in plans ignites anxiety. He thinks he sees reality, but in truth, his view is warped by emotion. Marcus Aurelius cautioned, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." Habit 6 convinces men that their perspective is absolute, blinding them to reason and distorting their judgment. It does not need to shout. It whispers, convinces, and deceives quietly, yet with devastating effectiveness. Consider a modern example, a young entrepreneur whose startup faces a setback. Instead of analyzing the facts, he spirals into fear, imagining ruin, betrayal, and failure at every turn. Epictetus's timeless words resonate here. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Habit 6 hijacks this reaction, turning it into suffering, self-doubt, and impulsive decisions. The mind, once a tool for problem-solving and strategy, becomes a prison of imagined catastrophes. Every text read, every email received, every social media post becomes a trigger, not because it is harmful, but because habit 6 conditions the man to interpret the world through emotion, not reason. Stoicism is the antidote. Awareness of this habit allows the man to pause, reflect, and reclaim control over perception itself. Here's the suspense. Unlike previous habits, which attack action, ego, and ambition, habit 6 attacks the foundation of thought itself. It undermines clarity, distorts judgment, and convinces the man that he is powerless, trapped, or justified in inaction. Seneca warned, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." The modern world amplifies this habit. Every notification, every comparison, every pressure point feeds habit 6, reinforcing the illusion that external events dictate internal experience. The moment you recognize it, however, the veil lifts. Feelings are no longer law, perception is no longer prison, and reality becomes a canvas for deliberate action rather than a battlefield of uncontrollable impulses. The promise is profound.
Mastering habit 6 gives a man the ultimate power of Stoicism, the ability to separate perception from reality, impulse from reason, and emotion from decision. But the tension rises, because habit 7, the final and most cunning habit, is waiting. While habit 6 corrupts judgment and enslaves perception, habit 7 subtly undermines character itself, wrapping ambition, desire, and distraction into a web so invisible that few men ever escape. Awareness of habit 6 sets the stage for the ultimate revelation, the final key to freeing oneself from the invisible chains that have controlled men for centuries.
Habit 7 is surrendering your inner life to distraction, indulgence, and unexamined desires. The invisible habit that quietly corrupts character while masquerading as entertainment, relaxation, or even necessity. It is everywhere, in endless scrolling, passive consumption, petty gossip, or indulgence in fleeting pleasures. The modern man believes he is free, yet habit 7 binds him more tightly than any chains ever could. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Don't be carried away by the noise and chaos outside. Keep your attention on what is right and good." But habit 7 thrives on noise, chaos, and constant stimulation, convincing men that a distracted mind is a harmless mind, when in reality it is a surrendered mind. The subtlety is shocking. It does not provoke anger, demand attention, or seek approval. It whispers, entices, and normalizes itself, quietly eroding focus, discipline, and virtue, until the man who once dreamed of mastery discovers he has been living in illusion. Consider a man lying in bed, phone in hand, mind adrift between social media, news alerts, and mindless entertainment. Hours pass, opportunities vanish, ideas fade, growth halts. Stoicism teaches that every moment is precious, yet habit 7 convinces the mind that the present is for distraction, the future is uncertain, and the past is irrelevant. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Every indulgence, every distraction, every surrender to shallow pleasure strengthens this habit, making the chains invisible yet unbreakable. Epictetus adds clarity. "No man is free who is not master of himself." Habit 7 attacks that mastery directly, seducing the mind with immediacy while undermining long-term wisdom, courage, and integrity. Here's the suspense. Habit 7 is more cunning than anger, approval-seeking, busyness, pride, laziness, or uncontrolled emotion. It operates under the guise of normalcy, convincing the world, and more dangerously oneself, that it is acceptable, even necessary. A man trapped in habit 7 believes he is living fully, yet he is adrift, disconnected from purpose, and unknowingly sacrificing freedom for momentary pleasure. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Don't let your mind be enslaved by what is fleeting." And yet the world conspires to reinforce this habit with endless entertainment, convenience, and distraction. The invisible chains tighten while the man applauds himself for living comfortably. The promise is transformative. Once you recognize habit 7, the final chains fall. You reclaim focus, discipline, and inner freedom. You begin to choose what deserves attention, cultivate what matters, and live deliberately rather than reactively. And here is the ultimate revelation. Once all 7 habits are recognized, their interconnection becomes clear. Anger, approval-seeking, superficial productivity, pride, laziness, emotional hijacking, and distraction are not isolated flaws. They form a network of invisible chains that have controlled men for centuries. Awareness alone does not free you, but deliberate action, guided by Stoic wisdom, discipline, and reflection, dissolves the web and restores mastery over self.
Now imagine standing at the edge of all 7 habits, seeing them for what they truly are, a chain of invisible forces that have shaped the lives of men for centuries. Habit 1, uncontrolled impulses. Habit 2, craving approval. Habit 3, the illusion of productivity. Habit 4, pride and false knowledge.
Habit 5, avoidance and comfort. Habit 6, emotional hijacking. Habit 7, distraction and indulgence. Alone, each is dangerous. Together, they form a web so subtle, so invisible, that countless men live, work, and strive, never realizing they are trapped by their own minds. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And here lies the ultimate truth. The 7 habits are not just behaviors, they are distortions of thought, perception, and will. To master them is to reclaim freedom, to see clearly, and to act deliberately in every moment. Picture a man, weary from struggle, reading these truths. He may feel fear, doubt, or even despair. But this is the exact moment where Stoicism offers its profound promise. Awareness is power, and deliberate action is liberation. Seneca's wisdom resonates. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Every habit we have examined steals time, focus, and self-mastery. Every habit enslaves thought, emotion, or will. And yet, with clarity and effort, the invisible chains dissolve. The man begins to see not just the habits, but the spaces between them, the moments where choice, discipline, and reflection exist. He sees that life, once dictated by impulses and distraction, can now be lived deliberately, with purpose and virtue. The beauty of Stoicism is that this mastery is not reserved for kings, philosophers, or elites. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, lived in the chaos of war, politics, and plague, yet he practiced the same principles that free anyone today. He reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Epictetus, born a slave, taught that freedom begins with mastery of thought, not circumstance. No man is free who is not master of himself. Cleanthes and Zeno of Citium would nod in agreement. Virtue, clarity, and freedom are cultivated internally, not granted externally. And now, as the curtain falls on the 7 habits, the modern man can grasp the timeless lesson. Mastery is possible, but it begins with recognition, reflection, and deliberate action. Here's the reflection. The habits are not enemies to be feared. They are mirrors, revealing the vulnerabilities, impulses, and illusions that have shaped a life unconsciously. Habit 1 shows where impulse dominates. Habit 2 shows where approval enslaves. Habit 3 reveals where motion masquerades as achievement. Habit 4 uncovers pride and false certainty. Habit 5 exposes avoidance and comfort. Habit 6 illuminates emotional hijacking. Habit 7 unveils distraction and indulgence. Each habit has a lesson, a warning, and a path to freedom. The man who observes, reflects, and acts is no longer the victim of these habits. He becomes their master, the architect of his own mind and destiny. Now imagine the transformation. A man who once allowed anger to guide him now pauses before reacting. One who once sought endless approval now values self-respect over applause. One who was busy yet unproductive now channels effort with deliberate focus. One who thought he knew it all now seeks wisdom. One who chased comfort now embraces challenge. One who allowed emotions to hijack perception now observes with clarity. And one who surrendered to distraction now directs attention to what truly matters. The invisible chains dissolve, one by one, replaced with discipline, awareness, and the timeless strength of Stoic practice. And here is the ultimate promise, the truth Stoicism offers across centuries. Life is not controlled by circumstance, society, or other people. It is shaped by your mind, your choices, and your deliberate actions. Every moment becomes an opportunity to exercise mastery, courage, and virtue. Every decision, even small, is a test of freedom. Every obstacle is a teacher. Every distraction is a chance to focus. Every failure is an invitation to reflect. And as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. So, what do you take from this? You take the courage to see your habits, even the invisible ones. You take the power to act deliberately, to reclaim your time, your mind, and your life. You take the Stoic path. Not easy, not comfortable, but the only path to true freedom. And as the echoes of Marcus, Seneca, Epictetus, and Zeno fade in your mind, remember this: mastery is not a destination. It is a daily practice, a conscious choice, and a relentless pursuit of virtue. One moment at a time, one action at a time, one habit at a time, freedom is reclaimed, the mind is sharpened, and the soul is strengthened. And finally, reflect quietly. Are you a man shaped by invisible habits, or are you the master of your own life? The answer lies not in thought alone, but in deliberate action. The Stoic journey begins today, and it begins with you.